Thank you for the over-the-top introduction, and thank you, LABC, for this amazing honor. I am truly, truly humbled. I owe so much to the team members who have helped grow my firm's body of work over the years, and the many collaborators who have helped us achieve and learn, and mentors who guided me along the path of my career. Some of you are in the room today. Please say hello at some point today to collaborators from Populous and to our highest-ranking architect in our city, Deborah Weintraub, who well deserves her title as LA's design czar. Thank you all. LA has been my home on and off for nearly 50 years. My husband and partner, Rick Gooding, and I know the city like a well-worn map. We've worked in nearly every corner of the city, traversed every freeway, just like many of you. Once a week or so, I find myself asking, hey, Rick, what's that building with the weird dome roof off the 101? And he'll probably undoubtedly know precisely what I'm talking about. But when I arrived at LAX from Hong Kong in 1975, I was a tourist. Like other transplants, I too subscribed to that all too familiar joke that the only place where you can find culture in Los Angeles was in its yogurt. I looked around and saw buildings built like stage sets. Nothing rigorous or sturdy, no history to guide the design of buildings. A truly look ma no hands attitude. And to me, LA then felt very much like a kid in its puberty, in that awkward phase between adolescence and adulthood, and still trying to figure itself out. Still not 100% sure what it wants to do for the rest of its life, and always accompanied by odd smells, and we're not entirely sure where they're coming from. In the mid-'80s, I left LA for the other big city. I graduated from SciArc and enrolled at Columbia, where I got first-hand access to authoritative architectural history and theory lessons and the world's largest architecture library. It was a gold mine for a young architect who loved to put her nose in the book. And bracketing my time at Columbia, I had a fortuitous professional start with Billy Tian and Todd Williams, the architects of the Obama Center, and it was there that I dove into rigorous thinking about the craft of building, engagement with artist collaborators, institutional and cultural projects, and so on. I did not want to leave. At the time, design publications and thought leadership were East Coast productions. I figured I would become a legitimate New Yorker and live out my days in the stacks of the Avery Library. But my San Diego-born husband persuaded me otherwise. He didn't want to spend our youth converting lofts in Tribeca. Instead, he spoke of freedom, the freedom to build unpermitted additions on top of Type 5 garages. Sorry, city folks who are here. In the land called the San Fernando Valley. So in 1990, Rick and I took the scenic route through Central America and moved back to LA amidst the reality of one of our deepest recessions. With everyone out of work, Richard Meyer's office had the pick of the litter, Rick included, to help design the Getty Center in Brentwood. In those early years, we witnessed firsthand the resilience of higher education, cultural, and art institutions which persevered while the nation and construction were grinding to a halt. These institutions continue to invest in their own relevance, their buildings, their campuses, and to forge their roles as cultural stewards for the future. They trusted that the human spirit to advance the arts would always prevail, and that those built environments would be essential to develop their mission when the good times return, and they were right. While Rick was knee-deep in construction administration for the Getty, my mind was in Riverside, working on the design of the multidisciplinary arts complex for UC Riverside. Collaborating with Harley Ellis Devereaux and my previous partners at Israel Callis Shortridge Design Associates, the university wanted to put arts on the map by packing the various autonomous departments, theater, music, dance, fine arts, art history, and creative writing, all under one roof. They were the first accredited PhD dance program in the country. The Fine Arts Complex borrowed its form and circulation strategy from the nearby arroyo ecology, forms that encourage chance encounters and cross-pollination, and the color of the building derived from the Box Springs Mountain that you see in the background there on a smoggiest day. The locals have this saying, "Don't trust the air you cannot see." Years later, when I was at Woodbury University, an art history professor popped into my faculty office and said, "Do you realize I spent my entire undergraduate education in your UCR building, and whenever I had a harsh critique from my professors, I would tuck into one of those hideaway spaces that you design and work out my anxiety. The building saved my life." Rick and I founded our firm in 1996 to serve optimistic institutions like the Getty, like UC Riverside, because like them, we believe that the most valuable thing we can do as architects and educators is to support their mission to advance the arts, design, scholarship, and the engagement of the public through education. And because someone has to design spaces where students can work out their post-crit anxiety. In the past 28 years, we've been so honored to work with so many renowned museums and cultural institutions. We designed the Autry Resources Center in Burbank to give the Autry a proper collections and research center and outreach to the First Nations. We designed the interiors for La Plaza de Cultura y Artes in downtown LA, collaborating with Rios, which took decades of championing by many, including the late County Supervisor Gloria Molina, to realize a community hub for Mexicans, Mexican Americans, and Latinx people in Southern California. We got LAS 89.3 out of the closets of Pasadena City College campus and into a state-of-the-art broadcasting facility and community forum in South Pasadena, where they continue to contribute to the cultural landscape of LA. We also began to specialize in exhibition design. That's our R&D department, giving us the opportunity to work with even more institutions on a short-term basis. For the Masters of American Comics show, the Hammer and Mocha joined forces to produce one show in two locations about 100 years of American comic art, a milestone for comic artists who have never appeared in a world-class gallery. We used this design opportunity to critique the waste of exhibition materials by making all these display fixtures out of hollow core doors. When the show closed, all of the doors went to Habitat for Humanity for use in actual housing projects. And now we find ourselves working with Populous and Olin on the LA Convention Center project, which has us re-examining our city through a different lens to create a convention center that's authentically LA. For us, authenticity is about embracing our own rich design legacy, mining our rich inventory of creative institutions and makers and fabricators, utilizing our rich, unparalleled cultural history. We will not settle for the notion that LA is all about sunshine when we are also about noir. We are sunshine and sunny and optimistic, and we are sophisticated and sultry. Now I ask you all to please cross your fingers for our design team, our construction team, and our city leadership that we can deliver this project to you before the 2028 Olympics. So, of course, when you spend as long as I have championing cultural institutions, you no doubt get swept up in public service. So in 2010, I became the lone architect on the Cultural Affairs Commission, doing my best to steward our built environment here in LA. We reviewed everything on our public land in LA, over and on, from streetlights, bridges, public art installations, to fire stations, metro stations, and our beautiful in-progress people mover at LAX. Can't wait. The fact that the city established the Department of Cultural Affairs in 1925 is a true credit to our past city leaders who even then recognized that we needed a dedicated agency to set the standards of quality of our urban environment. Having a Cultural Affairs Commission means that LA is committed to consider the quality of its own cultural manifestations, from the smallest built thing to the largest built thing, from a cell phone tower to a convention center. I also had a great honor to serve on AIA's National Interior Architecture Committee. We helped organize one of the first meetings with the IIDA, the International Interior Design Association, and their leadership to try to understand AIA's long battle against interior design licensure and its negative impact on economic and professional development for interior designers, most of whom are women. NCARB and CIDQ issued a joint report analyzing the architecture and interior design professional exam and showing nearly 80% similarity. That completely prompted the AIA to soften their stance against interior design licensures after decades of lobbying against it without AIA membership fees. I bring this up to hopefully encourage those of you who are moving the needle, and there's some of you I ran into today, ever so slightly each day, to continue to do so for fairness. There is a world in which design disciplines treat each other with respect and the spirit of true collaboration is possible. I look forward to the day when all of the nationally certified interior designers in Los Angeles can shape our public spaces with full license. It is such a glorious result when architecture, interior, and landscape join hands and work towards the same goal. In my vision for LA, we do more to promote public education outreach for design, a generation that pursues design education and careers in the hardest sense and the broadest sense, so that they will sit on boards and foundations that invest in design, so they will serve on committees and organize events that benefit the public's quality of life, so this next generation that values design will demand that even our city's most mundane architectural features be both useful and beautiful. Many of you know Helsinki has great trash cans. LA deserves great trash cans. Thank you. In my vision for LA, I get my Sunday morning oily newsprint copy of the LA Times. I don't know how many of you still do, which is mostly for the benefit of my nose. I love that smell. And when I open the paper, there's an entire section dedicated to architecture and design. We need critics like Mimi Zeiger. We need Alyssa Walker. And we need Carolina Miranda, whose last column at the Times was in June, with no plans to refill her shoes. That's just an atrocity. We need to keep reflecting on what we build here in LA and how we can better develop LA's potential. If you go into the Getty archives, there's a letter penned by the celebrated architectural writer and critic Ada Louise Huxtable to the editor of the Times in the mid-1960s. As you know, there's a lot of racial and cultural upheavals at the time, but she shouted about the importance of architectural coverage as a way of understanding what is going on in the city. And that sentiment still stands today. Architecture writing must be part of the major city's newspaper agenda. In my vision for LA, we honor our citizens. 71% of us are minorities, and we learn from the mistakes of our past. On October 24th, 1871, coming up with an anniversary, 90 years after LA was founded, a mob of more than 500 descended on Chinatown and massacred 10% of the Chinese population at the time. How many of you guys know about this? Raise your hands. Very, very few. The 1871 Chinatown massacre was one of the bloodiest massacres against Asians in the US on record. The mistake is not just the massacre itself, but also its buried history. I was not aware of this atrocity myself until I was invited to join a panel of civic and cultural leaders and launch a competition for the Chinatown Massacre Memorial. So that 150 years later, we can finally provide a correction for our collective memory and use the occasion to heal and to reflect on how our city can move forward, learning from her scars. Every single person in this room is in part responsible for helping our city fulfill her great potential. We, as an architecture, design, and construction community, we have so much to contribute. Every project in the city that you have invested, designed, entitled, stewarded through, and ultimately built, every one of those projects is a little growth spurt for Los Angeles. My vision for us, for all of us, the vision that Rick and I are always striving to fulfill ourselves is that we give ourselves permission to behave boldly, that we never lose the enthusiasm to try new things, to experiment, to do what we do well even better, and to continue to reinvent this frontier town while we still can. That we design like we're slightly invisible and forever young. I see things very differently now than I did in 1975. I'm no longer a newbie. I've written my own history with the city. I've raised a family in the city. I have a daughter who was actually born and raised in LA, a badge I wear proudly. She's a Valley girl, even though she too fled for New York just like her mother did. When Maya, Rick, and I return home from our travels, we do so in the most LA fashion possible. Rick beelines to Hobosh to get his off-menu ceviche and fish taco combo before he catches an LAFC or ACFC match and run into Mir Lair. Maya goes straight to low-quat coffee for her mascarpone hojicha latte. I can't keep up. And I'm texting multiple friends to meet me at Iki Ramen before we go to the Hammer, the Huntington, Kraft, LACMA, Mocha, Disney Hall, A&D, or whatever it may be. We have so many. And LA has matured since we first met, perhaps no longer the gangly kid that I previously discounted. These days, I guess LA feels like maybe it's in its late 20s. Still really awkward, unsure of herself, still nothing green in the fridge, but still some odd smells here and there. Like all of us did in our 20s, LA is reflecting on her past and being more strategic about our resources. Los Angeles in her 20s can make a case for preservation with a true voice and commitment, because we've been around long enough now. We have treasures and legacies, like the Corrida Art Center, like the Schindler House. They must be preserved. Under the burden of her original identity as culturalist, as a city without culture, LA tried on different identities. She clings onto our coastline and looks west and beyond for inspiration. But the world gradually began to take note of the brilliant inventory of art, architecture, and design from our golden mid-century architecture, pushing modern architecture into a regional thesis, to the legacy of American cinema conceived and made here in the city and shared with the world, to the light and space artists whose impact is still evident in the current Oliver Eliason exhibit at the Geffen Contemporary. Who dares to say that LA has no culture now? When I step back and look at LA from a distance, the city really is something to marvel at. Like Kathy Opie's freeway photographs, the longer we study the city, the more we find moments of profound beauty amidst the ugly. Like heading north on the 110 on an LA winter afternoon, despite the traffic, when the downtown skyline gleams gold. A world-class design capital in its own right, a beacon of art, culture, and entertainment, and to feel that you've had some small part in it, that you all are woven into this LA tapestry, that you've shaped this cultural identity, that is the greatest gift imaginable. Thank you for LABC for all that you do for our marvelous city and our community, and thank you again for this incredible honor.